Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this out there on the World Wide Web. This is Jeremy Geelan for SYS-CON TV here at 9th Cloud Expo, Silicon Valley. So, of course, we've come to Treb Ryan, CEO of OpSource, because he is a Silicon kind of guy. Correct, Treb?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me, Jeremy.
9th Cloud Expo, that means 10th must be to come, 8th is just behind us, Treb.
Double digits.
But this whole Cloud Expo thing, you don't really believe that cloud is going to last another 10 shows, do you?
10 shows. I don't know if we'll still be calling it cloud. You know, that's one of the things where by 10 shows from now, it's just going to be IT. You know, we're going to have gone past, it's like you don't go to a show that's called the client server show anymore, right? And I think in another 10 shows, this is going to be so ubiquitous that we'll be focused on certain pieces of technology within the cloud, whether it's the applications or the infrastructure or the communities or the social or whatever the piece is. So this will go past cloud into all of IT maybe at that point.
So Cloud App Expo would have some traction?
Yes, probably so.
Cloud Security Expo?
I think you probably have something there as well.
Cloud, we could go on.
I know we could.
What would be best for OpSource?
We could do social cloud. Well, we're infrastructure guys, right? We're the platform guys. So I think in the end, we'll probably have Cloud Platform Expo or Cloud Platco or whatever you want to call that particular piece as sub-shows. But then this becomes, what was the old big IT show?
PC Expo, I have to confess.
Yeah, so I think this is what Cloud Expo becomes, is the big overarching show. 10,000 people, I'm seeing Vegas and taking over the entire town by that time.
I like the way you're thinking, Treb. But honestly, 2011 was an explosive year. So what kind of adjectives do we use for 2012? What lies ahead?
You know, mainstream adoption. You know, we talk now about how big this has gotten, and especially here in the U.S., and it's beginning to have a real impact on, you know, other buyers of hardware and software because of the move over to cloud. But I was talking to an analyst this morning from Numerity, and they're showing that it's still only 17% of enterprises have adopted cloud. Now, you remember, they're talking to the IT guys, and often those guys are not the ones who are adopting cloud within the enterprise. But from an enterprise IT perspective, it's still only 17%. And they expect that to double next year, but you're still in the early stages. I mean, it's amazing. This industry is so much bigger than the hosting business where I came from was already. And yet still only adopted by 17% of IT.
But interesting you add that qualification. Remember, this is the IT guys. What are we doing that people are still getting their arms around their servers by the sound of things?
Yeah, I think there is. You know, the IT guys still want to hug those servers, right, and have that happen. But the reality is their users are using the cloud anyway. And so I think what we're going to see a lot of with IT adoption is to allow them to service the users, to give them what they need in their organization, while at the same time maintaining an element of some sort of control. I mean, I can guarantee you right now there's not a company on the planet that doesn't have sensitive corporate data sitting in Dropbox, right? And you're not going to stop the users from doing that. So ITs understand that, hey, we need to provide those same types of services with the element that I'm sure it's encrypted and we're not putting people's social security numbers out there and things that make it dangerous, right?
But given that they're doing it anyway, it makes perfect sense. Right. Give it a shot and do the same thing securely.
Do it, and the users don't want to be insecure, but if you don't give them what they want, they're going to find some way to do it, right? And it's like I comment to every banker I know has two phones. The phone that Morgan Stanley gave him, and then his iPhone that he uses because the Morgan Stanley phone doesn't do anything, right? So they lose all their security by doing that. That same challenge comes up in cloud. How do you give the users the experience they want, that immediacy, right? That flexibility, but still have a modicum of sense that we're doing it responsibly, that you're taking care of really people's sensitive data, you know, and you have some control over who's doing what in the organization. Maybe, and better yet, I can tell you one thing, just so it's cheaper. All those people buying it one person at a time is a lot more expensive than a company buying it 10,000 users at a time.
Here's an intriguing thing about, you know, Treb Ryan and OpSource and, you know, the whole infrastructure provider player. It's like you guys are the roads, but you're the most caring roads that anyone has ever met, that you want, you know, really nice cars to come down the road and to drive properly. Why does the analogy not hold that you guys don't care? You really seem to care about this, that everyone should be doing it better, best practices, and doing it faster, of course.
The funny thing is we like this. I mean, I know that gets, but when I see someone spin up a server in a couple of minutes, I was over at the guys, the Zadara booth, and I mentioned them because this is the coolest technology I've seen in probably 3 or 4 years to enable some new stuff for me, right? For enabling some of the real restrictions on performance in the cloud. And this guy's showing me how he can solve that problem, this bottleneck we've had in the cloud for 3 years, in 4 clicks. I mean, and I just get excited. I'm like, we could do that in 4 clicks. I'll write a little API front-end interface, and I can solve half of my customers' biggest problems tomorrow with these solutions. And so when we say we're doing it because we want that to be a nice ride, it's because we actually want to create cool systems. And I know they're not iPhones and stuff, but for us it is. That's like looking at a new iPhone when I see something like that.
This is what you're buying into when you come to OpSource. You can see why you guys have been growing and growing. As you said, though, so hosting, we've already eclipsed the size of the hosting industry already. And then what next? I mean, this is going to go on and on at this rate.
Well, and I've said this, I think, before, that not only does cloud make up most of IT spend, or the associated endpoints that, the flip side to cloud, of course, being the mobile and the ability to have a distributed systems that then centrally come back in. But that is going to be a lot bigger spend than was for. I mean, if you look at how much we use technology today compared to 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or even 3 years ago, with smartphones and tablets, how connected we are all the time. A great comment on an earlier panel, we don't have information workers anymore. Everybody's an information worker. They come out as soon as they come out of the womb, they're information people now in this society. So it's going to be a much bigger industry than what we had coming before. It's not only making up a larger percentage, it's making up a larger percentage of a much larger business.
And what does that mean for an infrastructure provider like yourself? How are you scaling? You're encouraging all this scalability. Well, how do you yourself scale?
Obviously that's one of the reasons that, one of the actual technical or economic reasons behind cloud is you can never reach that scale if everybody was doing their own thing. And the overused analogy of the utility grid really comes into the play there. That as the power consumption or as the cloud consumption goes up, you need people who can specialize and get highly leveraged in systems, so each individual user doesn't have to go out and pick up their own infrastructure. We can get that cost way down. We use less people, more highly automated, and of course we have the buying power, and we put in bigger, larger infrastructures than what any one company can do on their own. And so that allows us to continue to stay ahead of the curve. But we're looking at, it used to be 10,000 systems was a lot of systems. Now we're looking at, by the time we hit Cloud 20, we'll be looking at 1 million systems.
Cloud 20, I like that.
Yeah, Cloud 20. What will be there? Remember we said that? It's going to be down in Vegas and it's going to be better than Comdex.
Cloud 20.
Yeah. Cloud X.
All right, Treb. We better let you get off the hook and keep on growing. It's a little wild, I think. We're going to see you in June, I hope, in New York City.
Well, as long as you keep doing it in New York, I'll keep coming.
There you are, then. And hopefully, anyone following this on the World Wide Web will see us too. June, New York City, 10th Cloud Expo. It'll be by then.
It's already on my calendar.